So welcome back, everyone. So today we are going to be having a really fascinating conversation with our smart guest, Ola, who is back with us. What a lovely guest. And we're going to be exploring the concept of femininity and wisdom, whatever that means. Ola will tell us in 2.5 seconds. We're also going to talk about, yeah, we're going to do that. We're also going to talk about some of the women in the so-called Bible. We know that there are other texts that make the Bible. So we're going to touch on Sophia, Eve, Lilith, and maybe even Mary Magdalene. We'll see where the conversation takes us. And we're going to talk about much more stuff. I don't want to, tell you everything that we have planned for you all, because it's some really cool stuff. And most of all, what y'all requested, which is the menstrual alchemy. So we're going to touch on that as well. So welcome back. How are you doing, Ola?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me back. I'm very excited to continue our explorations tonight. Hello, everybody. I was really happy to see that people wanted to know more and explore a little bit deeper into those things. So hopefully, this one will not disappoint, or at least will maybe provide something new for some of you. So, let's do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. And you know what, all I found so interesting with a lot of the feedback is, I think people are more used to your work in astrology and other parts, and they were so engrossed and impressed by your knowledge about feminine wisdom. And all this stuff. Yeah, I was surprised that they were like, I love that she's talking about this. Like, it was so needed. So that was quite interesting to see.
I mean, to be honest with you, that is a bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah, me too. I was surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, I mean, the astrology, that side of sort of matrix code, I mean, you must know those things. If you're sort of digging into the code, into the matrix, and probably there is a reason why people might sort of recognize me for that. But I have been very I would say focused in my interviews in podcasts on the alchemy side. So that has been, I would say, even probably more prominent at some point than the astrology and the code. And also, having said that, I did the Astronosis conference in Chicago in August, and that was also very strongly on the feminine alchemy. I kind of crossed a little bit between astrology and feminine alchemy to kind of explain the context, not just astrology as a part of the matrix code. But yeah, that's there is so much more. There's so much more to talk about. I'm literally about to probably put together an ebook or some kind of form on shamanism. I've done quite extensive, I don't want to even call it a research, because there's a lot of people doing research and not much wisdom coming out of it. So I think we have to take a different approach here. But I've been looking into sort of many different aspects of what we these days call spirituality, and shamanism has been butchered. I mean, gotta tell you that, shamanism has been butchered. Shamanism is totally misunderstood. Shamanism, and perhaps this will be something to just mention a little bit. I know that we have a lot to cover today, but maybe something to just mention a little bit at least, because when we talk about shamanism, people think that shamanism is the oldest tradition in the world and everything else came out from that. That's not true. Shamanism evolved out of alchemy, out of feminine alchemy, and perhaps actually a lot of the shamanism as we know it today, as we sort of know it. I'm not even talking about the modern shamanism, because that is a total new age. I'm talking about whatever is left over, even in the indigenous cultures, is a little bit of I would say men-based alchemy or perhaps sorcery, a little bit even into that field. So there is a lot of exploration into the true shamanism, and of course shamanism being a part of alchemy. Simple as that.
Yeah, I was surprised as well by that. But again, it's good to see what people pick up and extract from conversations, you know. So I think they were not extracting the entirety of what you
Right.
have been talking about. You know what I mean? It's also, there's selective hearing. You take what you need at any given point in
Right.
time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. And so I think let's start with these fascinating women while we're on this, the feminine alchemy. Let's start with these fascinating women known as Sophia, Mary Magdala, or Magdalena, and Eve and Lilith. And I also learned that Hell is possibly a woman as well. I don't know
Yes.
about that,
Yeah.
but I'll let you take it away and tell us what your thoughts are on the different facets of these women or historical figures, for lack of better words, and how their knowledge can be alchemized and used or made relevant in the modern age.
Oh my gosh, massive topic. So I think that one of the key, perhaps starting point to really understand, to really dive into this, is to understand that a lot of these women, what they represented becomes more of a motive, it becomes more of the teaching, it becomes the way. So these women stand very, very strongly for the same type of teachings, which is literally feminine alchemy. Feminine alchemy is extremely broad, and it is that original fundamental sort of basis for whatever was derived from it later. So of course we are going back to the power within a woman, to the power within a female. It's not just sort of human women that we are talking about here. And one of the key things that probably worth mentioning, since we're talking about women from the Bible, a lot of Marys there, right? We have Mary Magdalene, we have Mother Mary, so Mother of Jesus, Mary Jacobi, we have so we have the mother of John the Baptist, we have all sorts of Marys, Mary Salome, so all those women following Jesus, or as it was portrayed that they were following Jesus. Who was following whom is the right question. All these women with the name Mary. So what's the sort of first thing that we need to decipher here is the name Mary itself, and of course we can look through it from the Aramaic perspective as well as even French. Mary Mar, the waters, the waters of creation, and Mary from Aramaic, the alchemical Aramaic translation of Mary is the one who knows the secret of the Grail. So the title. It's a title. Mary is a title. Every single one of us as a potential is Mary. Okay, this is not a name. Mary is a title. And so these women, whether that's Mary, mother of Jesus, whether that's Mary, of course that was Miriam, whether that's Mary Magdalene, these are titles describing women who have been initiated deeply into the alchemical secrets. And when I say initiated, I'm not talking in any kind of new agey context, in any kind of fashion that way, but these were women that knew alchemical secrets, and they lived it sort of in their daily life. This was not some kind of worship, this was not a sect, this was a woman who was living in her full capacity of her hormonal system, and sort of accessing certain abilities which probably over time sort of recessed, and we for us a lot of it is quite supernatural, whereas back in those days that was I wouldn't say maybe common, but that was definitely accessible, and so it is now. But the knowledge of it and that kind of wisdom has been suppressed. Lilith, Eve, what is the story behind it, right? So we have obviously Lilith created as the first or representing the first woman equal to the man. And as she took that equal stand with the man in patriarchal culture, well, she was demonized. So basically, every woman who does not want to give in to that patriarchal suppression gets demonized, right? We have Kali and very bad marketing around there with eating children and sort of blood flowing everywhere. We have Lilith turned into demon. She was never a demon. She was just a female. She was representing a woman in her alchemy who absolutely does not feel that she is in any sense subservient to the man. Whereas Eve shows up as being sort of fashioned out of Adam's rib or out of a man's part. Of course, depending on translation, that story has a little bit different context. But the takeaway, the key takeaway, is that a woman becomes subservient. A woman is now put in a sort of certain hierarchy against the man, which does not represent anything else other than it is a representation of that patriarchal culture overlay, which becomes very dominant. So all these beautiful women, all these amazing beings, creatures that teach us alchemy, teach us and represent, embody very, very deep wisdom, feminine, old days feminine wisdom, which of course gets represented in teachings of Jesus, and the way as he was spreading is nothing else but alchemical teachings, so feminine alchemical teachings, but put into the mouth of a man, because given the cultural societal context 2000 years ago, a woman would never gotten of course any say or any audience. So effectively that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. And if we go beyond the physical manifestation of what appears to be feminine embodiment or masculine embodiment, the way men show up, the way females show up, and we take a look a bit deeper behind the veil at the chromosomes or the construction of the XX and the XY, can you share with us how you see these energies coexisting with each other and manifesting beyond what we see as a physical manifestation representation, as we are showing up as women, but behind us is a biology. There is the XX. There's a lot going on underneath what we see on the surface of what we perceive as woman or man. And there's the joke that people make and say that the XY is missing one leg, but it's missing a leg, and some take it a little bit further and say, I don't want to go there, right? There are jokes about that. But can you walk us through what we can learn about these energies and how they coexist, correlate, and what kind of wisdom or knowledge is within the chromosome makeup of the XX and the XY?
So I think probably I would take it down to that sort of DNA level, and when we talk about alchemy, so that it doesn't become just a kind of fancy, almost fairy-like story. If we inject a little bit of science into that, we have to get down to the DNA level. So of course we have the chromosomes, and that describes the sort of biology basics, differences between man and a woman. But what makes a woman so special, what makes a woman, and mind you, this is, I don't want it, I absolutely hate if this sounds in any way, if it sort of gives off a vibe that women are better. It is not about better, it is about what we are created for. And that's as it happens, we are created in a sense, in a fashion where we are capable by design, by literally the sort of genetic makeup, to be able to perform and provide certain functions which men are not, and that doesn't make them worse. That's just how it is. That's just what it is. So
yeah, but that I mean, I hope people don't take that, because a lion is not comparing with a leopard or a cheetah. It just needs to understand what it means to be a lion, or what it means to be a cheetah, or what it means to be a leopard.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're not in sync with, you're not living at your best, because you don't know. Yeah, so
absolutely. And the only reason why I like to stress it is because in this patriarchal culture, unfortunately, and I've had contact with a lot of people, and I mean men who who kind of consider themselves awakened and considers themselves sort of very much spiritual and into these things, and still yet that patriarchal kind of code is very much present there, because there is still that kind of idea that we should be able to do, perform, provide exactly the same thing as men and women, because we are equal. And men have that kind of code written into them of the hero, and that is a very deep patriarchal code. So whenever a world needs to be saved, it needs to be a man. A man saves the day, a man saves the world, a man slays the dragon, a man kills the Medusa Gorgona, right? That's the hero. So that has been still very much present in us up until today. This is why I always stress very strongly that, well, actually we're not created in the same way, and a woman's role is very significant in this context. And yes, she is designed to represent and to perform things that a man is not, and that is a direct result of literally the genetic, which is what you're mentioning. And we have to kind of look into the DNA makeup and what does that, what comes with that. Well, there's a very, very big difference, for example, in the fact that there's a part of the DNA, there's a part of that genetic material written into that. It's called the mitochondrial DNA, which is transferred purely in the feminine line. That information can be transferred purely between women in the feminine line. So we're talking about hereditary things that only run in a feminine line. And of course, a man, that part of DNA also gets transferred onto a little boy, but he doesn't have the ability to transfer it further. So there is something in our makeup, and that's actually part of that alchemical magic here. This is the critical things, that there's something within our genetic makeup, and perhaps that is that additional leg that they don't have. If we take it through that comparison, right?
Because it's humor, but there's something behind. There's always truth behind jokes. There's always something behind the joke.
Absolutely. So at the DNA level, and of course this goes for everybody. We all have so much more DNA than what we are officially using. So one needs to ask what happened. Well, what happened is the other DNA strands have been switched off. So what's in them? What's in them? Well, what's in them is literally that full capacity of feminine alchemy. So we have access to a very, not by design, but kind of by default, we have access to a very small, just two strands of active DNA, whereas what's written in sort of the remaining, that so-called junk DNA.
Just say that again. You kind of broke off a little bit when you said the strands of DNA.
So we have the two active ones, right, which kind of provide the basic functions, and that's a default. We all have that, but there is so much more, that so-called junk DNA, that we also have all these other strands that are not active, they're not on stream, and what's in them is literally that other or perhaps the rest of the bandwidth, the rest of the spectrum of feminine alchemy for a woman. And as it happens, back in the day, so these alchemical women that we're talking about, Mary Magdalene, whoever back in time, they would have had the wisdom, they would have had the knowledge, the understanding, how to bring this additional genetic material, these additional DNA strands back on stream. Because why? Because bringing that genetic material back on stream, activating that, it enables our hormonal system to fully come on stream. So we think that we already have the full sort of capacity of the hormonal system. We don't. We also are only using a very limited capacity, which is very much linked to, well, all the other kind of bodily functions that we know about, plus, of course, reproduction. So this is very much that kind of part which is still influenced or has been influenced by the moon. Whereas there is so much more. There is this whole entire capacity that is linked to the rest of the DNA. And when that comes on stream and the full capacity of the hormonal system becomes activated, then the woman stands in that full alchemy. And that is specifically that kind of link. You know, what is it that makes us versus men? Well, men have a different genetic material. They have a different sort of composition, and their functions are different as well. This is why perhaps this is a nice way to prove that clearly we are made in a different way, and there are certain things that we are able to do and we are able to provide as well or facilitate for men, but they just don't have that capacity, and that's okay. That's just how we are made. They are made for slightly different functions as well.
Yeah, and I think it is okay, you know, and I think as a man, you should really want your wife, your partner, your sister, your mother, your daughter, all the women, your friends, to be moving at the best, you know, at the highest, you know, fullest capacity, you know, without looking at it as a kind of a competition. But I get your point that the programming, it does run very, very deep, and it's constantly being reinforced. You know, just when it's starting to wear out, it's reinforced, and there's always this reinforcement. But there is a reason, to all the men listening, there's a reason why women are asking these questions. Because when questions are being asked, answers will be gotten, and you cannot stop. There are things that you cannot stop, because the fact that they're asking these questions mean there is a reason behind it. And then when they get this knowledge, then, you know, every woman will use it as she sees fit. But when you were talking about the hormones, I thought about a question that one of our listeners asked, and that is the menstrual cycle, right? This is a really good one, because you touched on it last time. And we know that the menstrual cycle, I mean, just over generalizing here, but it's usually connected to intuition, power, and cleansing, as you mentioned, you know, but there is much more to it. So can you walk us through what you have come to learn is the purpose and the use or the function of the menstrual cycle, and especially, Ola, what it means for women who have stopped menstruating? You know, what does it mean for them?
Sure. Oh my God! Please remind me if I miss it at the end to address that. Please remind me, because this is critical. You know, I only have good news here, but this is critical.
Okay.
So you see, one of the where I come from, for example, and the indigenous cultures as well, pretty much around the world, where that kind of wisdom was still cultivated. For example, the indigenous people in America or anywhere, really, right? But there was this at some point, right, or even up until now, sweat lodges are used, right? And even there is a bit of a renaissance of sweat lodges now within the maybe new aging community, with everybody now wanting to go and cleanse. Well, again, another misunderstanding, because what is a sweat lodge? Well, sweat lodge effectively, originally by design or by sort of the idea was about sweat lodge is connected to the womb of the mother, womb of the earth mother. So this is meant to sort of correspond to the womb, which is naturally cleansing, right? So who needs a sweat lodge? And right now, as the Renaissance happens, everybody runs to the sweat lodge, including women. Women have no business in the sweat lodge because sweat lodges are not for women. You have a sweat lodge every month. So what does that mean? What does that mean? You have a sweat lodge inside of you. You have a womb. You do not need to an external place to cleanse yourself or in any kind of way heal yourself, because that process is embedded into our very being. And that is the difference between, one of the differences, of course, between men and women. So this sort of notion of everybody now using a sweat lodge is very much contradicting the idea of what is the sweat lodge for. And the sweat lodge is for men, and mostly for men who would not be partnered up, so they wouldn't have the ability to benefit from the cycle that their partner would have. So let's dive into that. What is well, you see, I might surprise you, but if the cycle, or if the menstruation, if the time when a woman is bleeding, if that was sort of alchemically fully working for us, healing would not be required. Going to anybody to kind of cleanse your or help you overcome your ancestral traumas or any kind of traumas or issues or whatever, that would not be required, because your natural cleansing process happens every month. So we as women are getting enough and more cleansing, cleaning, healing every single month. How does that work? Think about it. In every tradition, right, we've mentioned Eve, we've mentioned other women. In every tradition, and then an echo of that in the East, there is always a serpent. Serpents are very connected to women. For example, in the Mediterranean culture, we have women holding snakes. So if we look to the Crete or the Greeks, we have women holding snakes, women dancing around snakes. We have the snake, the serpent coming down the tree of life. We have the serpents in the for example, in the Vedic mythology, we have the serpents, the asuras. Why?
Yeah, you also see the serpent in Mami Water.
Representing the serpent is always connected.
We have a delay.
Exactly.
So it's a delay, but I was going to say we also see with the Mami Water the images. She's always holding a serpent. I always wondered about that. But
exactly, right. So this is the critical kind of concept within alchemy, and of course, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, this is a symbol of feminine power. Well, yes, it is a symbol of feminine power, but we need to go deeper, and hopefully maybe one day, if I'm lucky to come back here again, we can go deep into that symbolism and specifically where does that come from. But just in a nutshell, right now, the serpent is to do so please understand that Kundalini is a bit of a misunderstood concept, okay? The whole concept of Kundalini as a serpent rising inside of you and inside of a man. Kundalini cannot rise inside of a man because Kundalini is linked to the blood. So or not Kundalini, but the serpent, okay? I don't like the whole.
Yeah, I think, but you know, you have to use certain words. It's so difficult sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Right, but it's you know, if I keep talking about Kundalini, people's gonna believe in Kundalini, and that is a bit of a misinterpretation here. So what we are truly dealing with is a certain energy which is actually to do with activation of the DNA. And the serpent, the coiling serpent, is to do with activation of the DNA, but it is a activation of the DNA which happens when a woman is bleeding, or that it doesn't come from the base of the spine, it comes from the womb, okay? And of course, so there is a bit of sort of misinterpretations going on here, but it is the serpent which is representing of that. If you look into the DNA, okay, if you look into the DNA, the DNA, the helices of the DNA, they kind of look like two serpents dancing, right? Like Caduceus. So we have that. But if you look into the mitochondrial DNA, we have a ring. So the mitochondrial DNA is basically round. Look into that if anybody is interested.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the images and see what I have seen about it. It's a very different structure from the double helix strands. Some, they show multiple strands for some.
Absolutely. And then, let me just jump back. I promise it will all come together. Let's jump back to the Garden of Eden and what happens after Eve listens to the serpent, which, by the way, the serpent was telling the truth. The serpent told the truth. It was the God that lied to Adam and Eve, right? What happens as a result? Well, they get punished and they get shunned out of Eden, but Yahweh sends a sort of a punishment, right? And the punishment is also against the serpent itself. What happens? The serpent, the punishment is that the serpent from then on is going to move slowly.
On its belly. Yeah.
On its belly.
Which made me wonder about that, but go on. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This is critical, okay? This is critical to the DNA because, you see, there is nothing, Bible or all these stories, these are not just stories. These are not fairy tales for children. This is a symbolic, deeply alchemical language. If you don't know the symbology, if you don't know the alchemy, you will read it and you will not see the forest through the trees. So the serpent, the punishment to the serpent by Yahweh is that it's going to be moving very slowly on its belly. Okay, so that means that the serpent used to move quickly. And the serpent probably is not clearly an animal. It's not about being an animal, right? It's that serpent. It is the serpent that we're talking about within the feminine. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the DNA. We're talking about the helices of DNA specifically, and the speed. So Yahweh or the Bible effectively here is describing one of the genetic interventions into our DNA performed by the fake gods, right? By the gods. Yahweh is part of the, whether we call them Anunnaki, whether we call them reptilians, Draco, or whoever, those that came here. So they were the ones playing with our DNA, dumbing it down. And that specific story describes yet another intervention into our DNA where the sort of the speed and the how to best explain it, the helices, when the
helix
are intertwined, the job or the task, right, is to carry certain information. It is to, they cannot be fully activated if there's no vortex. And guess what's responsible for the vortex? The vortex, that movement, that's where the mitochondrial DNA comes in, and it gives it a spin. So the serpent being told to move slowly, it basically means that our DNA was slowed down. They again sort of intervened into our DNA, and they made the helices of the DNA, instead of the vortex being there, which activates the DNA, it got slowed down. So the serpent was told to move slowly and on its belly. So back to, what does that mean? It's a woman that is able to bring the vortex back and get the serpent moving quickly. It is part of the alchemical initiation, or part of that alchemical wisdom. And specifically, this is also linked to the blood. So when a woman is bleeding, this is the time when she can experience, not every month, it's a one-off thing, if you like. This is not like it happens. This is why they say when Kundalini rises, it goes through, right? And that's it. It's a singular event. but this is not, it's a bit misunderstood what it does. It activates certain things. It activates your DNA. It takes you to the next level. That's what truly happens. But what happens during menstruation? So the fact that we are able to access so much more within our DNA and so much more within our hormonal system means that a woman, like a serpent, a woman is very often compared to a serpent. If you look to the artwork from the old days, if you look to the fresks, very often women are portrayed as beautiful, beautiful women, but with a body of a snake, or the snake, the serpent show up in the hair. What's up with that? Well,
yeah, Medusa.
Right? It's a symbology. It's a very deep symbology. If you know, you know, right? So now you know. There you go. So
yeah, we always misinterpreted the artwork because we never knew what the artwork meant.
Exactly. Yeah. So a woman, like a serpent, the teachings say, what does the serpent do? The serpent once in a while drops the skin, the renewal. What's your period about? You're dropping the insides, right? I mean, okay,
Lining.
that's the doctor.
This is what we're taught at school. It's the shedding of the inner lining.
Absolutely. You're shedding the lining. You're dropping that old skin, right? I mean, that's what the doctors say, but there's so much more that goes on. So that's you see, this is that kind of serpent connection in a woman, that a woman drops the skin or sheds, right? Shedding the skin, shedding the lining like a serpent. So, but think about it deeper. So if a serpent drops the skin, it sheds that old skin, there's a whole new skin, there's a whole new layer that appears.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that regeneration is such that whatever was there in the previous in that previous skin, that's gone. That's gone. So a woman, we are designed to shed everything that doesn't serve, everything that means when alchemy is activated, a woman fully regenerates her whole body. Like a snake shedding the skin, fully regenerate, which means this is why I said in the beginning, you do not need any healing sessions. You do not, as a woman, need to heal your ancestral trauma, or you do not. Why? Because literally all that, everything gets left behind. Everything is left behind as a part of your cycle. More than that, most women probably will notice that there's during our menstruation, right? The first days, perhaps the second day is the most heavy.
The second day is the heaviest, sure.
The second day is the heaviest, and then it kind of is manageable. And probably as well, what you're gonna notice is that in terms of how you feel, in terms of the pain, the time before and maybe the first, second day are the worst. And then the pain kind of eases up a little bit, right? And then, or perhaps disappear altogether. So there is a clear distinction between the sort of first part and the second part of that process. Why? Because there is a very deep alchemical meaning to that as well. As women, we are designed, women are implosive, men are explosive, and that goes for sexual contact, but that also goes for alchemical aspect. So women being implosive, we actually naturally, that's how we are built. When we have a partner, a sexual partner, or even in a context of sort of being in a certain environment, women in that implosive sort of force will take in and will be cleansing a lot of energies around us. Yes. That's what happens. A lot of energies around us, we are constantly cleansing, whether you know that or not. It is not a intention based, it is not a ritual based. That's just how we are, that's how we are constructed. So in the run-up, and women, please, ladies, listen to me now.
Please do, because because this one, Ola, what?
I know. We should have been talking. That's cool.
Shout this at the rooftop, because this is some serious stuff.
And you know what? This is critical for us to navigate through it. This is the reason why back in the day women would be told to spend that time alone, go
in the red tents, the red tents.
Absolutely. Maybe go away, or maybe be with other women, or be alone, but certainly not work, certainly not carry on as business as usual. No, because this time is so special for you, and this time is a time of power as well. But
and the people around you, they notice this. You know, if you have a partner or family members who are attentive, they notice it. Because I remember even when we were young, the boys, you know, your brothers and sisters, were like, oh, she's probably going through it, because your mood changes. You're a bit more solitude. You're a bit more calm and spirited, quiet.
Right.
It's like you said, it's like you're going within, knowingly or unknowingly, you know, you're doing it, but others notice it. But now we know, girl.
Absolutely.
We know what was happening. You were doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Exactly. That's what happens. And let's go into that a little bit more, because this is also critical for women to know that. And mind you, okay, I'm not a doctor, so I do not want to diagnose anybody here, or sort of, you know, drive you away of perhaps pursuing some treatment that you need. That's a separate story. But as a rule, if your period is painful, if you experience a lot of pain in the run-up and the first 2 days, if it's a lot of cramping, if it's a lot of pain, if you are feeling pain all over your body, this is not normal. And let me tell you what's going on, okay? Please notice when that happens. Is this a every month sort of occurrence? Is it the same way? Or is it sometimes better, sometimes worse? What does it mean? If a woman, so think in a context of what we just said, that we are cleansing, or the cleansing happens through us, for the partner, for your sexual partner, as well as for the environment. So
for your family, I'll say.
For your family, absolutely. If you
and your pets. Everybody.
I would hope that the pets, you know, the nature is probably helping there as well. But you know, if you are experiencing heavy sort of painful periods, that should tell you that something is not right. You are going somewhere against yourself. You are perhaps sacrificing in some way. You are unhappy. This is time of going within. And you see, why would women go within? It's not because you are in pain, so you have to go sit on the sofa and watch Netflix. That's running away from it. You have to understand that the pain is not normal. Discomfort, heavy discomfort is not normal, because that blood that's flowing from us, I mean, think about it, that blood is life.
Yeah, it's a life force.
It's life. It's life. And women are part of the ecosystem of this earth, of this world. So first of all, I mean, we have to kill the taboo on these things, but please stop using pads and tampons, because they are toxic. Especially in the last few years, the composition, the ingredients have been changed. There are some kind of substances causing cancer. It's a war on women. So using these kind of products is actually going to aggravate. It's going to give you all sorts of additional issues. But where am I going with it? Back in the day, since we get so much from the nature, from the earth mother, we get the crops, we get food, we get everything, but we don't give back. Women give back through blood. So women back where I come from, but not only. Look at the women in a lot of indigenous cultures. They never wear trousers. They wear skirts and dresses. And during the time of the blood, they let the blood drop on the ground. They let the blood drop outside, under the tree, on the grass, wherever. I know it sounds probably quite out there for a lot of people, but that's only because we have wandered so far away from the nature. But the pain, back to that pain, if you feel if you're in a lot of pain, then something in your life is not right. Something in your life does not serve you, and you are using a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength to plow through. You are probably going against yourself in some aspects. It could be relating to job, it could be relating to your relationship, it could be relating to your, I don't know, environment where you live. Maybe there is something that is not exactly, you're not fully in alignment there. That's just how it is. So that pain is there to tell you something. And I know that a lot of women will say, whoa, I have all these pains because I have these issues, I have endometriosis, or I have this or that. Please understand that none of those issues are accidental. Okay? All the issues, all the feminine sort of issues, whether it's cysts, whether it's endometriosis or other things, are a manifestation on yet another level of what I'm talking about. So if you don't listen to that voice of your body, to the voice of your womb for a very long time, it's going to escalate. It's going to escalate into some kind of illness. But the first language, the first signal comes through our cycle. So in that first part, a woman is effectively transmuting, cleansing the everything that she has picked up on throughout from last time, plus the energies, the heavy energies of the partner, plus the energies around herself. And then the sort of second part of the cycle, there is this element of sort of regeneration. So now a woman is stepping into slightly different role. So all that has been now removed. It's been sort of transmuted, transformed, and cleansed. And now there is that element of sort of going forward and preparing for that next month, for the next sort of how many days, right? So there is also an element of a woman starting slowly to weave, should be weaving. This is why, think about it, why was it banned at some point that women, when they are menstruating, they were not allowed to weave? They were not allowed to cook. They were not allowed to take water from a well. They were not allowed to do any of those creative aspects. Why? Because they were told you're dirty. You have blood. You're dirty. Absolutely not. A woman.
And the taboos that are inserted with apparent evidence of what happens when a woman beats eggs. I know in Germany they have the taboo of a woman beating eggs, and if she's on her period, I think it clogs up, or the egg you can whip it. There are all these taboos. Every culture has them, but it's a taboo connected to her menstruation.
Exactly.
And so why she should off, or she's dirty or clean. She can't enter the temples,
Exactly. And you have to ask yourself why a woman in those on those days is not allowed to do those things. Well, it's to do with her powers. It's the opposite. Whatever is the common kind of understanding, the common knowledge, you have to flip it on its head. That's the rule of thumb that's going to help you navigate through everything. So a woman who menstruating is not allowed to, for example, weave, right? Back in the days, weaving. Weaving, oh my God, I could go on forever on weaving, because weaving was not to do, it was not as simple as making material to make clothes. Weaving, think about it, in mythology, we have the fates. And the fates, right? Different mythologies, the Moiras, the Parcas, and the Norns, for example, in the Norse, they are all weavers. Weavers of what? Of destiny. Okay, and they were what? They were some kind of goddesses. In the Norse mythology, they're actually not goddesses, as in they are not part of the gods of the Norse gods pantheon. They are they belong to the Jotun. They are the giants. So in Norse mythology, we have gods and giants. Why is that important? Well, because they are not gods. They are not them. And it's three sisters. And you probably remember from last time when we talked about alchemy, I was talking about three aspects in an alchemical woman. So again, when we unpack who the fates are, who are those beautiful creatures, beings, women, giantesses, as they called here in the north, they're not three sisters. These are not three different ones. These are, it's a woman. It's an alchemical woman with the three being aspects of alchemy: the mother, the maiden, mother, and the witch.
Yeah,
so absolutely. And they are weavers. So the weaving aspect, they are weavers of destiny. So a woman in her alchemy is able to weave destiny, and what the mythology tells us, destiny of gods and men. So a woman in alchemy is more powerful than the gods. It's not the gods that tell us what the fate and what the destiny is going to be, but a woman in her alchemy overrides that. So a woman in her alchemy effectively overrides the zodiac. That is where she starts to weave her own destiny. So this is, you see, there were certain things that women did. This is part of that alchemical, I don't want to call it magic, because it's not magic. It is alchemy, that women would be weaving. And when they are weaving, they would actually take a bit of that blood and they would put it, they would use it during weaving. And that very process becomes so much more than a physical sort of manifestation, as in creating a piece of a material, piece of clothing. No, that woman would be weaving her destiny. That woman would be able to literally steer her life the way she wants. And this is why women were banned from doing that. Because when a woman does that, when a woman becomes a weaver, when she has the blood, she escapes the matrix. She escapes the gods. She escapes the fate dictated by the gods. She decides her own destiny. She starts to weave her own destiny. That's the meaning. I mean, Jesus, I don't think I ever dropped something like this in an interview. So thank you for that.
The minute you said Jesus, I also thought of Jesus. I really did. And I thought of how they're clues in everything. You know how they swear by the blood.
Right. Exactly.
They say the blood. They speak the blood. And when you said Jesus, I was just about to say amen to that. Jesus.
No amen. We don't do the amen here. No.
I know what that means. It's all the animals.
Yeah.
We're not Christians here, but there is truth. And we said in the beginning, you really can collect pieces everywhere. And the Bible is not what you think it is. You have to really look at it with different lenses. Because it has gems. Because even when you mentioned that they were, interfering with the DNA and the genetics, it does say that in the Bible. We, us, created man in our own image.
Exactly.
It was not one person. It was a couple of them, doing shenanigans.
Absolutely. And mind you, right, when you take the word God right? And the meaning, if you sort of trace it back, what the meaning, what is the meaning of the word God? It means the one that you address. The one that you address. Address for what? Address for what? As in the one that you pray to. The one that you pray to. They wanted us to pray to them, right? I mean, the word archon, right? We're talking about archons. The word archon in Greek means the Lord. Shocking. Now you know who you're talking to. Now you know who you're talking to. So yeah, that was a little yeah, there. But back to blood, absolutely certain functions, certain things were banned by the church, by patriarchy, during a woman's time of blood, because it was simply the most powerful time, and women would have been able to overwrite a lot of, or perhaps disclose, find out, reveal a lot of things that were just inconvenient. So women in their alchemy at the time of blood were extremely powerful. And I know what's going to happen now. The ladies that are not menstruating anymore, they're going to feel left out, and they're going to feel like they've lost their moment, because that's kind of no longer for them. Well, absolutely not. There's another alchemical secret, perhaps. Yeah, absolutely. But you have to from an alchemical perspective, you have to understand that a woman, when she's still menstruating, so in those years when a woman is still having blood, women, those alchemical women, would absolutely sort of use and utilize the energy of the sun, because the sun activates our DNA. This is why now Bill Gates is, very, very keen to block the sun, right? So that the sun doesn't do the job. There is a little bit more to that, because you might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, we have sun all the time, and where is the DNA activation? Well, the problem is that the Grail is full of lead. That's another story. So that activation cannot really happen. That's for another time. We can go into that as well. But the sun, so there needs to be that kind of contact with the sun. There needs to be a contact with the lower kingdom and the upper kingdom throughout it needs to be sort of part of our routine, not some kind of ritual, not some kind of, a meditation. No, this needs to be weaved into the way we live. It needs to become kind of almost subconscious. So not this kind of new agey ceremonial way that, at 5 o'clock we're gonna sit down and we're gonna have a meditation. That's a masculine line. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about communion. We're talking about weaving that as a part of our everyday life. Natural as literally opening that door behind me, going out and sticking your fingers into the earth and looking at the sun. That's it. You're done. So it's very much about how you live your life. But a woman, why am I talking about it? Because during the time when a woman is still menstruating, we say that she is charged from outside. So there is still, her blood is being charged externally, as in those external energies are flowing into us. A woman is still receiving that external from the underworld and from the cosmic kingdom. We are still receiving those energies that are kind of coding the blood or decoding the blood. They are charging the blood, whereas the woman that stops and then becomes goes through the menopause and sort of alchemically we can call her a witch, although remember that the witch is just the crone, that is just a alchemical title. Woman, we actually say that the reason why she goes through the process of menopause and why she stops bleeding is because she has been charged sufficiently. So absolutely. So now Now it's like we say in alchemy that it's like there is a black hole inside of her womb. Now she is the one who has sort of, you know, sucked in all these energies, and now she carries that. That's why very often women in that process, they would feel a lot of heat. They would suddenly get hot.
Yeah, they call them the hot flushes.
The hot flashes, right? Or they would also get sort of all sorts of maybe emotional or, you know, hormonal sort of changes. Very often that is to do with that very process. So that kind of heat that a woman feels is literally the cauldron that is now transforming, because it has now received all that energy to sort of charge it. So if women are there thinking that oh my God, you know, I'm not menstruating, so what can I offer here? Well, actually, you have just become the sun yourself. You are the sun. We, the ones that are still menstruating, we are still charging. You have just become the sun. This is why the women post-menopause, the witches, yeah, if you call them by that aspect, they are the most dangerous to the establishment, because they are effectively embody all the aspects now. They are the ones that you see when we talk about the times when witches were burned at the stake, right? Witches were burned, not the maidens, not the mothers, the witches. There is something a little bit deeper that's hidden there. It's women for their witch aspect, for that shamanic aspect, for that aspect they have been burnt at the stake, because that aspect is perhaps the most powerful out of the whole alchemy. So you see, look at the current times, right? We have the whole everything is flipped on its head. We are glorifying the youth. We're glorifying girls in their teens, early 20s, right? I mean, the whole TikTok men, you know, chasing after 20-year-olds, and they are beautiful because they have all these bodies and all that. And women who are like, you know, 40, 50 plus, well, that's already, they can be sort of terminated on the sort of side track, because they're not good enough. Well, actually, that is part of the programming. That is deep part of the programming. It has nothing to do with how you look, and none of that is important. They are utilizing the looks and the physicality to cover up for something much deeper, which is the fact that women who embody, like physically, literally physically embody that shamanic aspect, they are in their full power. They are the most inconvenient for this establishment. Why? Because a woman in that, and mind you, this is not age related. So I always
no, it's not, because we're seeing younger women going through menopause. Ali and Alia,
it's not in that context. What I mean is that, you know, a woman, regardless of her age, she is a triple. Sort of she needs to have access to those three aspects, but as she goes through menopause, regardless of age, when it happens, she becomes the embodiment of that shamanic witch crone aspect. So
what you're saying is a little bit more complicated for people who haven't watched your part one, because you did explain these three sisters, these three aspects or stages of life, or whatever you want to call it, how they're interlinked and interchangeable, and how a woman needs to embody all three. So, absolutely. You have to listen to the first one.
Absolutely. So if somebody, if this is interesting for someone, but you don't understand what I mean here, please go back to part one. I explained a little bit more in that part, but specifically women in that witch aspect, that alchemical aspect, or the older women who fully embody that aspect as a result of the fact that they've gone through the menopause. those women, they become, it's like they have that vortex, that black hole, that sun inside of them, which gives them an instant, immediate transformational qualities, abilities to transmute instantly. These women instantly, for example, perform alchemy of turning lead into gold. What do I mean? Of course, not the chemical elements, but lead, as in what we call in alchemy, lead is the lower vibrational energies, emotions, into gold, into higher vibrational. So these women instantly transmute, for example, fear, anxiety, depression, shame, guilt, whatever, into higher vibrational expressions, love, support, etc., right? So the higher emotions and energies. And also, very important thing, and perhaps one of the most obvious in this matrix, is that aspect, it immediately exposes all illusions. So all illusions, lies, forms that are fake, they get transmuted into truth. So literally, what does that mean? It means that these women naturally, they kind of cause this matrix to collapse, because this matrix is fake. This matrix is built on fakery, on illusion. So these women are very dangerous to this matrix, to this establishment, because in that aspect, you are transmuting naturally. You are literally naturally transmuting this realm, naturally. So that's why the danger. And this is why those women are kept in what? Those women are kept being told that they are unattractive, they ugly, they have no purpose, there's no use for them. And the whole attention is redirected onto the younger women. Why?
Yes, so that you discard them, or you don't play your duties as a woman. You say, well, and some women do it. You hear them speak, repeating what society has told them.
And that's the point, because if a woman starts to believe in that, she immediately drops into that place where, that's what you have to watch the part 1, I think, as well, because I think I've explained there that alchemy is not to sort of activate alchemy. It is not about intention. It is not about some kind of ritual or some performance. It is the way, it is how you live your life. It is what you carry inside. It is what you believe in. It is how conditioned you are. So if you buy into being told that you are useless, that you are no longer needed, that you are old, unattractive, etc., then you are naturally not in that sort of place for your alchemy, for your cauldron to activate. So you are no threat in that shape. You could be the biggest threat, but you're not, if you're gonna buy into that. And that goes for everybody. That goes for all of us. Okay, that doesn't go just for these kind of women. That goes for all of us. This is why they keep us constantly in the lowest vibrations. This is why they keep us in fear, in misery. They keep us chasing all the time. We need to be just chasing the dime, right? We need to be paying our bills. I mean, why are we called the human race? Human race. I don't want to be a part of a race. I don't want to be racing towards anything. I want to be walking and living easy life, right? Isn't that interesting that they call this a human race?
It's so interesting. Even the choice of words that they give the group of women you've talked about, menopause, men on pause. It's again jokes people make and say, men on pause, but when I'm thinking about all this, and also how they externalize a woman's value based on appearance. That's why women are all about plastic surgery, all this stuff. And they like to downplay the inside. And I think that's why it was important for us to talk about this, because women are more than just the appearance, the plastic surgery, the eyebrows, eyelashes, makeup, and whatever, body shape. You know what I mean? There's so much more to what we call a woman. But I wanted you to touch on something, because I know you talked about the women, and I'm I know we have one leg out the door because of the time, but I want to ask you something. What about the women who have had a hysterectomy?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all, because you see,
how does their alchemy work? Because the menopause woman, she naturally came to it. The woman who had hysterectomy for whatever reasons,
absolutely.
yeah, what's the process? How do you see this?
It's not how I see it, it's how it is. This is the biggest beautiful thing. Whether you've had hysterectomy or whatever other procedure, where whether your breasts have been removed for whatever reason, whether some kind of intervention has been made medically into your womb, into your fallopian tubes, or whatever else happened there, it doesn't matter. How do we know that? Well, first of all, let me ask you, are you not a woman now? Are you now a man?
Yeah, you're still on XX.
You're still a woman, and we are dealing with alchemy, not chemistry. We're dealing with alchemy, and that alchemy, not just chemistry, is responsible for the fact that things are not about just that physical aspect. Physical aspect is actually very little to do here, because we are.
Really is, yeah. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
We are dealing here with the makeup of what sort of makes a woman, right? Biologically, as in what's your genetic material? What do you have? Do you have the XX? Do you have the DNA? Do you have the hormonal system, right? So absolutely. So just because something has been removed, or even for women, because very often women, especially these days, right, we struggle with all sorts of hormonal imbalances. The food that we eat, the cosmetics, they are packed with all sorts of chemistry.
The clothes as well, Ola, the fabrics.
Like everything, right? It's literally everywhere. So of course we are being targeted to sort of take us totally out of balance, and even that is not doing the trick. Okay, it is not doing the trick. As so far as you continue to be a woman, you're still a woman. So even if your hormones are totally out of balance, and perhaps you might be having some kind of conditions as a result of that, that is not sort of a showstopper.
Yeah,
that doesn't stop it. The only thing that does stop it, and this is what we should be worrying about, is that kind of more emotional side of things. Why? Because you cannot fool the energy. So think about it. The emotions that you live in, the emotional state that you live in, is going to be directly affecting your body. This is why I told you right earlier that if you are about to menstruate, or you're menstruating and you have a lot of pain, and it's a really terrible experience, because let me tell you, menstruation should be an amazing experience. This is the time of power. This is the time of you being a woman who is a natural vessel for transmutation and for weaving of whatever you want in your life. It's an amazing time. If that's not how you feel, something is off. Something in your life is, you are responding through your emotional / physical state to whatever is not working. So unfortunately, those two go together. So you cannot fool the energy. If you are living, I don't know, full of guilt, or unhappy, or if you're sacrificing yourself, or if you're trying to run around, make everyone happy but yourself, and you're running around, stepping into masculine behaviors, controlling, trying to be perfect, trying to sort of outdo yourself in every field. These are masculine behaviors. They are effectively driving you out of that feminine alchemical sweet spot that you need to be in. So that is is what is going to stop your alchemy. Not hormonal imbalances, not the hysterectomy or any other condition. That is irrelevant. The most relevant thing is what you feel inside and how much in alignment with yourself you are. If you are telling yourself some stories that you have to do this because you have to, you have kids or you have this or you have that, I'm sorry, but if you are sacrificing, then it's a price you're paying and you're choosing to do that. I can't tell you what to do, but it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work when a woman is in that sort of negative emotional state. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and I think, Ola, this this share was so important and so powerful, because the programming of what has been associated to this powerful thing, body, natural body aspect of a woman, which is called menstruation. It has not only been demonized, but it has been made to be unclean. It's a taboo. You can't talk about it. So, of course, I understand women relating to it in that aspect, like, you don't want to even say you're menstruating. Oh my God, how dare people know this? Something that you have described as beautiful is not even a conversation you can have. For the longest time, men could not even go by the sanitary. So I think women, it's so important that this one, you need to listen to it, because I'm still stuck on when you said the cleansing.
Yeah.
Of the whole environment. I'm like, what? When you think of the workplace, women are going to work when they're menstruating. So you're cleansing that space. That's very
and it's you're absolutely, and you're cleansing because you're picking up on those energies throughout your whole cycle, right? It is not, you're not just cleansing when you are menstruating. The menstruating is the act of cleansing, because what you have already picked up, absolutely, what you've already sponged in, like I said, women are implosive, so we are sponging in, and then when we sponge it in, it needs to go out. So that's how we are built. So please do understand that our blood, monthly blood, and of course back in the day it wasn't monthly, the monthliness comes from the moon, but it is not an affliction, it is not an imposition, it is a sign of power. And unless we change our attitude towards that, alchemy is not going to happen. Because if you see it as a discomfort, as a time which is kind of taken away from you, or some kind of inconvenience, absolutely, then you are effectively kind of killing the whole magic of it. You're taken away from yourself as a woman, as a creator, as a force of the nature, as a force of this ecosystem, because that's what we are designed to do. We are designed to sort of be part of the ecosystem, as in, look at the tree of life, right? Different realms, different sort of underworld, this realm here, and the cosmic kingdom. We are the portal who is standing between the worlds. So it is very much our I don't want to call it duty, but it is our natural capacity to be sort of serving, to be not only taking but also giving. So that time of the month is when a woman gives back to the earth. A woman gives back to the ecosystem, because of course, we are the ones that transmute, but that blood is life. We get life from the earth mother. We give life back. That's that time.
Wow. And we're going to end it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh,
hopefully.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I don't know about y'all, but I have learned a lot today. And I hope that you've all taken this as it was intended, to help you, to support you, to empower you, for lack of better words, because knowledge is power. So Ola, is there anything else you want to share before we head out?
Just for the ladies to and please, gentlemen, do not feel left out. That's why I said that hopefully gentlemen are still with us here, because you are ultimately the partners. You are the ones who are living with women who are starting to remember that amazing mysterium of life, and let's please understand, for sort of all of us, what kind of amazing gift women really carry within themselves. That's a gift not only for us. We are designed to serve the collective, because it's in the same way as we are designed to serve the collective when it comes to giving birth to a child, for example, right? I mean, it doesn't happen in any other way. We are designed to do so much more, and that's our function. This is not an affliction. This is a natural thing. So when a woman is in her alchemy, this is a natural thing. And mind you, it is also not our duty to remain. That's why I said that it is not our duty, and there is no glory in remaining in toxic circumstances, in toxic conditions, in relationships that don't serve, in workplaces or any other kind of context that is taking from you, that is making you sick, that is making you unhappy. That is not how we are designed. Just because you have the ability to transmute certain things does not mean that you have to endure. Quite the opposite. If you continue to remain in those conditions, you are actually blocking your own alchemy, because you are not you're not in that kind of alignment. For alchemy to be activated, you need to be in a state of peace, freedom, happiness, joy. In shamanism later that becomes ecstasy, but we're actually talking about bliss. So ladies, simple as that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ola. And it's important what you say to all the gentlemen and men listening. Like, some of you are single fathers. This is information your young daughters need. So, if you want her to be actualized, and to be at her best, at her highest, give her this knowledge, because Ola has shared so much. Also, we've talked about the products. It's important for you to know this stuff. For your wife, for your girlfriend, it's important. For your family, and it will help you, of course, if you can see the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
You know what I love that you said, Ola? You said that women should find their sweet spot. I like that. You told them to find their sweet spot.
Absolutely. It's as simple and maybe as difficult as that, because we, what gets very often programmed into us is that we are here to serve, but in all the wrong ways to everyone else, right? Whereas actually you can serve the most and the best, and perhaps in the most healthy way, when you are in that sweet spot.
Yeah, and the beauty of the sweet spot is it's your sweet spot.
Yeah,
my sweet spot is not Ola's sweet spot. That's
exactly.
such a, like you said, it's a simple statement, but there's more. There's more to it, because finding your sweet spot requires you to find it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly. So thank you so much, Ola. To all of our listeners, all of our listeners, we thank you for stopping by. This was our smart guest, Ola Wolny. All her information and her work will be in the description. So I encourage you all to go in there and have a look, have a read, and, connect with her. As you can see, we do respond to your questions and your requests. So don't be shy. Just feel free to connect. So until next time, I thank you all for stopping by and hanging out with us. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, and good night, everybody.